What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow, so today we are back going to be talking about Survivor Season 41, Episode 3, where my winner pick, JD, lasts another day. And Alyssa's eye candy for the season got voted out. So, my name is Rachel.
I'm Alyssa, and I gotta say, JD is not looking super hot this episode or any other episode. Like as far as like his winner chances, I would bet against a JD winner at this point in the game. But we'll talk about that later, I am sure.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like a big thing to talk about with this episode would be the edit. A lot of people online are commenting about the edit, sort of negative things. I would say, I don't know. It's just sort of, for me, not as fun when they spent the first 20 minutes of the episode on this advantage where they go to this other island, do another kind of prisoner's dilemma choice to choose two things. If they get it, they win something. If they don't get it, they get a disadvantage. But then by the end of the episode, it becomes totally void because the person who got the advantage from this first Beware advantage going to the nighttime island, like, it was totally useless. So I don't know. It just felt like there's a lot of time spent on something that wouldn't come into play at all. And it wouldn't even like be a 2 episode arc. It literally gets voided this episode, where I wish we would see more scenes getting to know the people, because it's like, sure, we've seen some of Brad, but it's like Brad versus JD. Are we really that invested in either of them right now? We don't really know much about any of these people. So I would love to see more background stories of these characters rather than let me spend 20 minutes on this advantage that is nullified by the end of the episode.
We still have not heard from Heather like at all this season. And I'm sure part of that is because Blue Tribe still has yet to go to tribal council, but like, does Heather exist on this island? I don't know.
That's the thing. It's like we can attribute the edit to, okay, Blue keeps winning, so we're never going, like, it makes sense we don't hear from people like Heather, but it's like we've heard from Sydney, Nasir a lot, and their tribe keeps winning. We've heard from Deshaun, but yes, sure, Deshaun went to that island last week, so he got some more screen time, but it's like, Blue Tribe, you should just call them Purple Tribe, because we don't know half the people. Like Danny, first episode got a lot of screen time, but since then, haven't really seen him. Erica and Heather, like, we don't know anything about them.
Yeah, and I would have rather had even like a fraction of the time spent on advantages spent on like the Blue Tribe or like something other than just advantages, especially because it seems like it's just, like you said, it's a pointless now.
Yeah, like I thought the best part of the episode and the most interesting confessional was from Shan later in the episode, when she was relating her experience having separated parents and then having to choose between her mom and her dad. But she also related it to the game of having to choose who she wanted to vote out. And I thought like that was such a touching moment. Like you could see that it was really emotional for her. And we got to learn about her in the process while she related that experience to the game. So I liked that. And like, if they could do more of those, sort of like give us some more about their life, their upbringing, their jobs. Like, we really don't know too much about any of the people besides the people getting the confessionals, really.
Sidebar, I hope that like Shan or her dad is in therapy, because like bursting into tears when your kid tells you like, I don't want to live with you, that's like traumatizing for that poor kid. So I hope that she's like worked through that, just because that seems like it was a really difficult moment in her life. And when that like happened, me and the people I was watching with were all like, I hope she's in therapy, or I hope that she had therapy to like resolve that, just because poor Shan. But yeah, it definitely does make you feel for these people. Like, you want to know more about their life. And I think that's better than the like random like clips of home video when you don't really have a context for like who they are or how that relates to their game.
Yeah, so it's sort of like a trade-off, you know, maybe a 10-minute advantage scene, and then you could do 10 more minutes on like the camp life, these people talking to each other, are they in relationships? Like, have they gone through tough things? Like, how are their thoughts on the game kind of thing, versus 20 minutes on this advantage that is useless because the person with the advantage gets voted out. And even on that trip, we didn't even get any screen time of like those three talking and sharing stuff about themselves. They literally went there and were like, nope, we don't got time to talk. Let's go and choose our decision. And then that was it.
I feel like the biggest thing we got from that scene is that Sydney and Tiffany both don't trust each other despite having spoken to each other for like maybe 5 minutes. So,
which we'll definitely talk about. But Liana, at the start of the episode, we see from last week some aftermath that she is very sad that she thinks that she missed her shot with trying to vote Xander out last week because, like we said in last week's podcast, it does seem like Evie and Liana folded. Voce in the exit interview with Rob, he was saying that Evie literally got back from the island 5 minutes before they had to go to tribal, so they all really didn't have a lot of time to make a split vote or actually convince Tiffany to vote Xander because of that time restraint. So Liana is sad about that. She didn't get her way last week, but I hope this makes her a stronger player. Liana realizing, oh, I can't let this game slip through my fingers. I realize that I need to push for more of what I want. I need to fight for who I think should go out rather than being like a passive player that we've seen so many times before where they see things happening around them, but then they never do anything about it. So hopefully this is like a wake-up call for Liana, and now she'll fight for who she wants to go out and then not just let other people dictate stuff for her.
I do think it's interesting. This seems like it's foreshadowing for something, but I'm not quite sure yet, just because it seems kind of weird that someone is like, a move made on like day 6 would be their $1 million mistake. I guess Adam Klein said on another podcast that the game isn't like won in the first 10 days or whatever. It's only lost. So I wonder how that like applies in this case, because it seems like the only way that Liana could have lost with that vote would be if Xander is the one who ends up winning the $1 million, which I still feel like is pretty unlikely at this moment in time. But I guess we will have to see.
Yeah, I like Liana's chances moving forward. We didn't really see too much else from the Yellow Tribe this episode. Then going into the Blue Tribe, we see Sydney ratting out Nasir. I was so sad at this scene because episode 1, we see Sydney ratting out Nasir, saying that Nasir said Deshawn and Danny were looking for idols. Week 2, episode 2, we see Sydney saying, oh yeah, I like Nasir now. I want to keep him around. We wanted to vote him out, but nah, he's cool. Let's keep him. And then week 3, she says, rats him out again and says, Nasir now wants to vote out Danny. And I'm like, sucks. This sucks. It's just the Nasir and Sydney show right now. And maybe they have a feud, but it sort of seems one-sided. But maybe now Nasir is having his eyes open to see that Sydney is continuously ratting him out, so Nasir can't trust her anymore.
Yeah, I just felt like also...
I didn't get that.
My Apple Watch started talking.
I love that. I probably heard Siri in Nasir. So, what was I about to say before your Apple Watch so rudely interrupted me? I don't know. I just like didn't like the way that Sydney was talking about Nasir, especially when he like later in the episode goes to explain about like, oh yeah, sorry about my English. You know, English isn't my first language. Like she seemed very dismissive of that. And I don't know, her like kind of wishy-washiness on Nasir kind of like strikes a vibe, I guess you could say, like rings some alarm bells, like in light of that information. Like I wonder if maybe she has like some subconscious biases that like need to be examined, just because like, I don't know. I just felt like the vibes were off in this scene. Like it just seemed like she wanted him out for no real reason, especially because we didn't actually see Nasir tell her that he wanted Danny out, did we?
I think it flashbacks to the nighttime portion where they were whispering.
Yeah, I don't know. Was it a flashback or did she just say that it happened the night before?
I think she was telling Danny and the group about it, and then it legit flashed back to her and Nasir talking about it.
I don't know. It just like the vibes. The vibes were wrong.
So you're similar to Tiffany then with the vibes there.
Yeah. So,
Which
I don't know. I feel like sometimes it's just like you like or dislike someone based on vibes, and you can't really change that. Which I
which
guess you could say is something that's happening with Sydney and Nasir as well.
yeah, and with Tiffany and Sydney too. And I think, yeah, it seems like maybe something Tiffany or something about Sydney, I don't know, maybe rubs people the wrong way on her tribe, because in the preview for next week, we see Erica finally having a confessional. So she's still there. She's getting some screen time, saying that, like, Sydney is like volatile or whatever the confessional is, which we'll see next week. So maybe Sydney isn't as in like such a big power position that maybe we as viewers think she's in. And as a viewer, maybe we're thinking Nasir and Heather are on the outside and the other 4 people on that tribe are at the top because they're more of the athletic people, and people are throwing Nasir under the bus for saying names kind of thing. But I feel like maybe that's not the case of how the tribe is actually becoming structured, and maybe this is just something that the editors are giving us because maybe Nasir and Sydney are going to go head to head, or maybe we'll see like a Tiffany versus Sydney war come up later, which maybe we'll see it, or maybe they're just giving us like fluff from the blue tribe because they aren't going to lose, but they want to show us some of these people on the tribe. So if it's never a Nasir versus Sydney thing, if these people never go to tribal before the merge, then it's sort of like, why do we need 3 episodes of like Sydney hating on Nasir when we could have seen some of Heather or Erica kind of thing?
I mean, maybe Sydney and Nasir are the ones that become important later in the season. So I guess sometimes editing is one of those things that only makes sense in hindsight. And sometimes even in hindsight, you're like, that was a dumb editing decision. So I guess we'll have to see.
Yep, we'll have to see. Maybe Sydney gets voted out next week because of her erraticness that Erica was talking about in the preview. So we'll have to see if this does come to a head where there is some kind of feud between Nasir and Sydney, or if there's a feud between Tiffany and Sydney. But speaking of foreshadowing, the first Beware Advantage. Why do they have the same name? I feel like it's so hard to differentiate this go to the nighttime hut Beware Advantage and the idol Beware Advantage, but it also makes sense. This is just a title Beware Advantage because every single advantage that you get, it will have some kind of risk versus reward. Lose your vote to get a steal a vote kind of thing. Lose your vote to get an idol. So in that case, it makes sense because the actual advantage is the idol and the Beware Advantage is the title of the clue. But it's sort of hard because you're saying Beware Advantage, then you have to say, oh, steal a vote or idol Beware Advantage.
Yeah, and I think it's like one of those things where couldn't you have called one of them like the danger advantage or the 3-part idol? I don't know, like spitballing here. Just because, like you said, it's difficult to like distinguish them. And if they keep doing these, which it seems like they're kind of gonna, if they have 2 different Beware advantages in the first
God.
3 episodes, Jesus help us. But like, yeah, I wish that they would have differentiated, especially because like if you're a casual viewer, like it might have taken you a minute to like figure out what was happening there, because it took me a minute and I watched it twice. So
me too. That's when I texted you, oh, they are hiding the Beware Advantage at camp now for the other tribes, because I thought when like Brad found it and when Sydney found it and Tiffany found it, like they were just finding the same one that Xander found, which I was like, why does Tiffany get another one? Because Xander has it already. And why is it playing out in the open? Like that's so unfair. Xander had to look in a tree, but Brad just looks down his feet and he gets an idol clue. So I was just so confused that it was actually a separate thing at first. Like, dang, the producers are just hiding them out in the open now. You just have to walk around camp and you get clues.
my favorite thing about this Beware Advantage is that Sydney gets it, opens it, and reads it, and only realizes it's a Beware Advantage after she's read the whole thing, and she's like, oh, I didn't see Beware on the outside. And it's kind of like, okay, whatever.
Too excited. You just have to open it.
I do wonder what would have happened if like someone had found it, saw that it said beware, and then was like, nah man, and just like chucked it into the forest. Like, what would have happened? Especially because it was like one of those prisoner's dilemma things. Like,
I feel like on future seasons, so 42 has already filmed, but maybe for 43, 44, when they go out there next year,
if
yeah, they're going to go and maybe not pick up any clues because they're watching 41. They'll watch maybe most of 42, if not all, depending if they're for 43 or 44 when they get sent out there. Like, if you go out, don't pick up anything because you're going to lose your vote until the merge, like Xander.
yeah, I felt bad for Xander just because I guess we'll get to the idol advantage, but like, poor Xander. Poor Xander. But like this first beware advantage where they all had to go into the boat, it was kind of unclear like what the stakes were. Like it's just get onto the boat, and it doesn't say like if one of your tribe mates catches you, like this is what happens. So I feel
I
like
guess no consequence for if someone catches you because the task, it was just like get on the boat, you have to make a decision. If you don't get on the boat, you lose your vote. So you could tell everyone, like when Tiffany found it, Evie and Liana were right there. So presumably maybe Xander knew about that one too. So Tiffany could just walk off and like no one would care because they know where she's going.
yeah, I guess it's like one of those things where I feel like there should be a penalty. Otherwise, it's kind of like, why bother?
So Tiffany, Brad, Sydney, they get the advantage. Sydney and Tiffany, they just walk out of camp. So maybe Sydney also just told the rest of the people or the people that she trusts, because she did say she didn't want Nasir or Heather to find this clue because she saw it on the ground in the middle of camp. So that's where we're saying, oh, presumably Nasir and Heather might be on the bottom of that tribe. But yeah, Sydney and Tiffany just walk out. Brad, great TV. He creates a fake Brad in his bed, which was so funny.
Out of oars.
Like, it's literally every teen movie where kids are sneaking out of their bedroom at nighttime, and when their parents check on them, like they just see the outline shape of a kid in the bed.
Yeah, I thought this was kind of funny because it's like two oars do not look anything like Brad, but I guess everyone is too like tired and sleepy to notice. I guess it's also interesting because they were like sleeping out on the beach. They weren't sleeping in a shelter. So I kind of wish we had gotten some explanation for that.
Yeah, maybe not cold yet, I guess. And they're sleeping far apart. So unless someone's like walking towards you, they won't necessarily notice that it's Oars as Brad. But I thought it was interesting. Like, yes, it is. It was so funny to see him create the fake Brad in the bed. But also, if someone did get up to go to the bathroom or something and they saw you put stuffing in your spot and they noticed that like you created a whole fake outline of yourself there, wouldn't that be more suspicious than if you just were like you leave to the island and then you came back and people were like, where were you? And you just say, oh, sorry, like I had a massive poo-poo, like my stomach really hurts, I was out using the bathroom. No one would question it. But if they see you make a fake you, they're going to question it.
I was going to say, no one is like sitting there waiting for Brad to like come back. So yeah, I wouldn't have bothered with the fake. I would have just been like, oh yeah, my stomach was really hurting or whatever. Because no one is going to ask for details about that. The worst, they're going to assume that you were idol hunting, which is actually relevant for Brad.
But they go to the hut island at nighttime, and then they have to make a choice. We alluded to it before, but they barely talked, which I wish at this point, we could see them. We saw them introduce one another, but like, were they vibing? Were they not? We saw maybe they weren't really vibing, but seems like they were there for like 5 minutes chatting. And Alyssa, I mentioned in episode 1, that game theory class I took. Now it's coming in handy again. I need to apply to play Survivor because if they're going to have all of these game theory things, I took that class. It's great.
Yeah, so the game basically was you either do TARP or steal a vote. If everyone does TARP, then everyone gets a TARP. They go back. It's Gucci. If everyone does steal a vote, nothing happens. They all negate themselves. if some people do TARP and some people do steal a vote, the people who do TARP get nothing. The people who do steal a vote get a steal a vote advantage. And so what ended up happening was Brad did steal a vote, and Sydney and Tiffany, who both did not trust each other, did TARP. And so Sydney and Tiffany both got nothing, and Brad got a steal a vote advantage.
Which I feel like it was sort of odd for Sydney to be so protective of her vote. She kept on saying, yeah, I need my vote. I don't want to lose it. So I'm for sure going to keep my vote, protect it. But like we talked about in episode 1, really, losing your vote on a 6-person tribe isn't that bad because one vote isn't going to save you. If it's 5 versus 1, Sydney's the odd person out on blue tribe. Like, Sydney's going to go home whether she has a vote or not. The only thing a vote is good for is to get the shot in the dark advantage, but even that is 1 in 6. So, like, you're going to get voted out either way, whether you have a vote or not. And the rest of the people on your tribe don't know if you have a vote or not. So you can always bluff, and it's not like someone's going to know that you don't have a vote unless you're telling everyone you don't have a vote and you have like a bunch of advantages kind of thing. But I really felt like because Sydney, it seemed like she was so adamant about, I need my vote. There's only 6 people. The other tribes have less. Like, Tiffany should have chose the steal a vote option.
I do wonder if that like indicates something about like the tribal politics of the blue tribe though, because losing a vote would also be important if there was a 3-3 split on the blue tribe. And like maybe right now we think that it's Nasir and Heather on the outs, and then the other 4 altogether, Erica, Sydney, Deshawn, Danny. But maybe it's like actually it's Erica with Nasir and Heather, and then Deshawn, Danny, and Sydney, and she doesn't want to end up accidentally making a not tie. So I don't know.
Yeah, like something like that. A question is, why is Sydney so adamant about keeping her vote? Because if it isn't a 3-3, like, you're going to get voted out. You don't really need a vote in a 6-person tribe. For Tiffany, too, I felt like she could have lost her vote. Same kind of thing. Like, if it's Evie and Liana voting on the yellow tribe, and say Xander doesn't have the idol, which in this episode, he doesn't have the idol yet, so he also doesn't get to vote. It's only Evie and Liana voting on that team. Tiffany doesn't vote, Xander doesn't vote. It'd be a 2-0. You either vote out Xander because he doesn't have the idol, or if they want Xander for immunity challenges or whatever, then it'd still be 2 versus 0 against Tiffany. And having lost her vote, like, she would still be 2-0. If she picked the steal a vote, then she could potentially have 2-0 in her favor or like 2-1 in her favor if 3 people are voting on that team, versus if Xander had the idol activated, maybe he plays it or something, he has his vote again, it would still be Evie, Xander, Liana 3-0 if they were going to vote Tiffany out. Tiffany didn't need a vote. So, like, I don't know. I felt like Tiffany should have done the steal a vote, because she didn't, like, losing her vote there wouldn't matter either, because it's such small numbers. It would have been 2-0 either way. It's more social game at that point then.
I mean, maybe the thought is that if Tiffany had her vote, she could persuade Liana to vote against Evie, or Evie to vote against Liana, or something like that. Or maybe she just didn't think that the tribe's future should be decided by only 2 people. So I don't know. I feel like Tiffany, it makes more sense to me for her to protect her vote, just because on a tribe that small, like, maybe Evie and Liana decide they want you out, and you have to like do some fancy footwork to make that not happen. So I don't know. It makes more sense for me that Tiffany would do it than that Sydney would.
I guess it goes to show more, I guess, of the kind of player that Tiffany is. It does seem that Tiffany is more into like not playing scared, but also like not doing stuff that is too risky where she could lose her vote kind of thing. So I don't know. I just felt like if Tiffany could get an extra vote, if she got the steal a vote, like, she would have the majority on that team. If only Evie, Liana, and Tiffany were voting, like, Tiffany could control 2 out of the 3 votes that are there if she felt like she was in danger, which with Tiffany being paranoid last week, I think she could have had that steal a vote as a great crutch versus now her vote, she could still get voted out next week 3-1 or 2-1 with a vote.
Yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see like if that has any ramifications. I think it's kind of funny that the one person who didn't protect their vote was the person who like kind of needed to. So,
but even you could say with Brad losing his vote, he would have also lost his vote from the idol not being found, which he wouldn't know that the other tribe hadn't found. The blue tribe hadn't found their clue yet. So he would this week he just got double lose his vote. But it's sort of like his one vote wouldn't have done anything this week because it wasn't, like with the way that the votes split, it would have still been 3-2.
No, because if he had had his vote, he could have also used the steal a vote. And so he would have been able to turn it so he wasn't the one voted out. So
that's true. And if he had an idol, which I guess if he would have lost his vote anyway because he picked up that other beware advantage. So he would have still not had a vote whether he risked his vote at this nighttime hut or not, which, it's double. It doesn't matter because now he just still doesn't have a vote because he doesn't have his vote because the idol wasn't found. And he could have lost his vote again from picking the wrong thing at the prisoner's dilemma thing.
Yeah, so I guess we should talk now about Brad's other beware advantage.
I see how do we distinguish which is which, but this is the idol beware advantage. Brad, he finds it, he shares it with Jeannie and Shan, and he also tells Shan about the nighttime boat advantage. So it's a public immunity idol. Like we said last week, basically everyone on this entire island is going to know about the broccoli, about the goats, about the butterfly sayings, because basically everyone on these 2 teams know what Xander's phrase is and know what Brad's phrase is.
I wonder if there's a requirement that you say the exact phrase, because I'm pretty sure what Brad said at the immunity challenge was not the exact phrase.
Oh my God, he flubbed that wording so bad in his RHAP exit interview. He said he was prepping too much on what he would say around the phrase that he forgot the phrase. He was planning on saying how skinny he was, how his hair looks like broccoli, that when he got to the phrase, he just messed it up.
Yeah, I wonder if it still would have counted or if Jeff would have been like, nope, that's not the phrase. Try again.
That's true, because you could say something like broccoli, broccoli, not trees, broccoli, and you say broccoli, but it's not broccoli's growing as small trees or whatever, that it's not what was written on the parchment.
Yeah, so
I guess another question that we'll never know, because the other questions that we have, Brad voted out with this idol clue, beware advantage. Like we said last week with Xander almost getting voted out with it, they have to re-hide this one now, right? Or is Brad's advantage nullified so there is no green idol? Or does Xander not get to vote until merge? Is Xander screwed now because Brad got voted out? Or are they going to hide another clue at the green team and then that person has to say the broccoli line? But then it's it's just a hot mess.
Yeah, hot mess is especially because if someone rehides it and they say the broccoli phrase, I feel like that's more suspicious than one person repeating their phrase again. If someone else randomly thinks about, yeah.
And then Shan is like, oh, remember last week when Brad said broccoli? I was thinking about that a lot. I think broccoli is just small trees. And then Xander is like, oh yeah, remember last 2 times when I said that butterflies are just dead relatives saying hi? Everyone will just go remember when 2 weeks ago Brad said this as their segue into the broccoli line, which is that cheating? I feel like they shouldn't be able to just say Brad said it. You have to say it and come up with a way to say it.
I don't know. I did think it was funny during the immunity challenge. Xander was like, "I like what you said about broccoli," and it's like, dude, he already knows you have the idol because he heard you say the line about butterflies. You don't need to like.
Trying to create an alliance, but
Yeah.
no more because Brad is no longer there. But I think it's like what we said last week with this idol beware advantage being sort of crappy because Blue, did production just not hide theirs out there yet? Because it seems odd that they haven't found theirs yet. And it's been 6-9 days. Like, are they just not looking? Or like, why have they not found it yet is weird. But like, having this idol beware advantage when all three tribes haven't found their advantage yet, you basically cut off Xander and Brad at the knees because they can literally do nothing. They can't vote. They can't use the shot in the dark advantage because they lost their vote. They can't use their extra vote or their steal a vote advantages because they can't vote. Like, they're literally dead in the water. So it's like, what's the point of them even sitting there at tribal? Because they can't do anything besides talk. Like,
And get voted out.
yeah.
So
It's like, so it's sort of it's too much negative. Like, it's too overpowering in the negative direction. Like, they lose so much by not being able to vote.
yeah, I guess hopefully they'll rebalance it for 42 if they keep it for 42, just because, like you said, it's very just overwhelmingly negative. So, and I think we already talked about that quite a bit last week. So,
Especially for something, it's like, beware, pick it up at your own risk. It's not like they knew that they wouldn't be able to vote for 4 or 5 tribals whenever the last people find their clue. So it's not even like their fault that they kept it and they opened it, because you see idol or you see advantage and you're like, yes, give me. But now it's like, no, keep that far away from me. Like Alyssa said at the beginning, if you find beware advantages, if you're out there in 43 or 44, you throw that into the woods. Like, you burn that. You do not want that near your camp. It'll curse you.
especially because like the amount of times that you lose your vote might not be made up for with the idol, you know? So I guess it's like if you're a very socially savvy player, maybe it doesn't matter that you don't have a vote for several votes, and then you get an idol and it's like a net positive for you. But I feel like very rarely will it be a net positive. Like, it might be a net positive for the last person to find it, because then it's like they didn't have to wait without having a vote, you know? So I don't know. I guess we'll have to see.
Exactly. It's too much, especially if your tribe keeps losing and if you're on like a 4-person, 5-person tribe. It's just so risky to not be able to have all of those advantages that you earned by like picking the correct prisoner's dilemma choice, that you earned by going to those islands. It's like, dang, bye, like, sucks. You don't have a vote and you're getting voted out. So alas, we go to the immunity challenge. It's a swimming challenge. Again, you have to go across a like sort of rope bridge, and then you have to land sandbags on a like weird looking podium. For Blue, they sit out Heather and Erica. Heather sat out last time, and so technically the rule is like you're not allowed to sit out in back-to-back challenges in the same cycle, which is like the same episode. So reward, immunity. But without reward challenges, I feel like they shouldn't be able to sit back to back in 2 immunity challenges, because if Blue can keep sitting out Heather, which maybe you say is the weakest person on their team, like, they're going to obviously keep dominating because they have their flint. They can cook food. They can cook water, versus the losing team each time they vote someone out and they have to play all of their players every single time and they don't have flint. Like, it's going to be so hard for the loser teams to ever compete against a team where they have all their top performers. Their A team is going in and they're sitting out their B team every week.
Yeah, but I guess it was a good thing that this week it didn't end up being the same thing happened. Yellow actually ended up winning. Go Yellow. So I'm hopeful that like maybe it'll start balancing out more. But like you said, if they keep doing the same kinds of challenges, it's much harder for it to balance out. So
especially when the challenges are very physical, like, sure, they do have a puzzle at the end, but like we saw last week, if you have one person that can't do one part of the challenge, like Tiffany on the balance beam, it's like no matter how good your puzzle people are, you're just so far behind time-wise, unless it's one of those puzzles where the great equalizer, as we say, it's one that takes a really long time and then you can catch up that way. But I don't know. I feel like Heather should have to play. It's not fair that you can have the NFL player, Deshaun, who landed those sandbags so quickly for Blue. I feel like if you're out on the island, you should be noticing how good he is at challenges. Like we said last week, Deshaun and Erica did the puzzle, the first two challenges, and they won it for their team. And Deshaun is good at this weird carnival style game of landing beanbags on different like platforms. So if Deshaun is good at balance, like he is going to do so well in individual immunity challenges.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see. I feel like another thing is JD was more style over substance when he was taking his turns with the beanbags. He was like trying to do jump shots and stuff. And so like maybe that's what ended up costing the green team their win. So there's a lot of different factors.
Yeah, I was happy for Tiffany. She got across the rope bridge. I felt like that is the hardest part of the challenge, especially because it's an upper body strength challenge. Like that part, you don't really need to be that good at balance because it's how can you lift yourself with the ropes at the top to get across the rope at the bottom. So good for everyone for getting across that rope bridge. I really felt like we would have seen people fall off or not be able to make it across. So it was cool to see no one fall, although maybe they just edited it out. I wish we saw someone fall off to see how difficult it is because seriously, it's just upper body strength, which is very hard.
Yeah, but I guess they would rather spend the time on the 20 minutes of advantages. Or Jeff like being so condescending, like Tiffany got through or whatever, so.
But Blue Tribe wins, Yellow Tribe is in second, and Green Tribe goes to Tribal Council. It is the first win for the Yellow team all season. So yay for Yellow, getting second place there.
Yes, yay for Yellow. Also, there was a reward element, but I feel like we never actually saw them like eat their reward. So that was kind of whack.
It's like after the immunity challenge, they just go to the loser team. We don't ever see any of the food, the fruit that they won. So sad. See, I want to see that. Like, oh, we're so happy we won. Or Yellow team after the immunity challenge celebrating like, yes, go team. We're not losers. We finally won something and celebrating because I feel like those are the fun, joyous moments that are cool to live vicariously through people.
Yeah, so it is what it is, I guess. We got to see the losers so that we kind of had some idea of what happened strategy-wise before the vote out, but I just want to see people shove fruit into their face.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. So Green Tribe, Brad wants to vote JD out. JD wants to vote Brad out, which sort of leaves Shan and Ricard in the middle swing positions. We see Shan, who is confused on who she wants to vote for. She could go with JD or she could go with Jeannie and Brad. Seems like Ricard is also there in the middle, like those two would go with the side together versus just Shan being a like 2-2 decider there.
Yeah, I feel like just what you said. It could be a 2-2 or not a 2-2. I guess I wonder, people knew that Brad didn't have a vote. It was Shan and who else? Jeannie knew that Brad didn't have a vote. So effectively everyone knew that Brad didn't have a vote, I would say.
So yeah, it's sort of like a 1-1 JD versus Jeannie who have votes, and then Ricard and Shan would pick, do I want to go with JD or Jeannie? Because like we said, Brad, cut off at the knees, can't do anything besides use his social game to chat.
And he does not seem to have a very good social game.
So speaking of JD with the advantage flub.
It's so stupid because this is an advantage he's had for a while, right? So it's not like he just found it and shoved it down his pants. Like, what is wrong with you?
It was so careless. Like you say, okay, he's going to the bathroom, which maybe he went to the bathroom or not, but it maybe was code for, oh, I'm going to go dig up my advantage because I want to bring it to tribal tonight just in case I have to use it. I need it there kind of thing. But it's like, I don't know. when you go and dig up your clue from wherever you hid it, like you were half naked when he came back. He was like pulling up his pants, like not having a shirt on, and then the clue was just tucked into his pants, like underwear area. It was just sort of weird. Do you like why did you not put all your clothes back on to hide your clue?
Yeah. I don't know. Which is kind of like, it's like, will the extra minute really cost you that much, JD? Like, I wonder if it's like he was worried he was missing stuff back at camp, but I feel like the not hiding the clue ended up doing more harm than good.
Shan was right when she said in a confessional that JD was sloppy. I agree. JD was sloppy there. You have to get fully dressed after you go poo poo, or if you went to go fake bathroom, and put the clue actually like in your pocket or underwear or something, not like sticking out where everyone can be like, oh, what is that? So reluctantly, because he was caught, JD has to share that extra vote advantage that he got episode 1 with Ricard and Shan. So it feels like we've seen some of this relationship between Shan and JD and sort of Ricard, where Ricard and JD, they're maybe like sort of enemies to lovers. Like now they're working together, but only working together because they're working with Shan and Shan is bringing them together. Whereas Shan and JD's relationship, it sort of maybe seems like Shan and JD are like brother sister, and they see JD as a younger brother kind of role, maybe easier to manipulate because he's younger. Ricard has a confessional saying, or just talking, saying JD might feel indebted to us, as in Ricard and Shan, because he feels bad about hiding this extra vote. So it does seem like that could have influenced the decision to keep JD, because maybe Ricard and Shan see him as a younger bro, younger, easier to manipulate.
And I mean, it kind of proves, because Shan was like, will you give this to me for safekeeping? And he handed it over. So, like, if they're keeping him because he's easy to manipulate, it kind of worked.
Over Brad, I think, like, you probably wouldn't be able to tell Brad to do something, and like he maybe would blow it up. And it seems like last week with Brad running up and down camp to go and eavesdrop on JD and Ricard's conversation, telling Shan relaying that information to Ricard could also be a factor in maybe them not trusting Brad as much anymore. But I thought it would have been so funny. Like, what if Shan voted JD out and just kept that extra vote and stole it from him? Like, that would be the evil music playing in the background. But it does seem like Shan is so nice and friendly. Like, she has those human emotions, like from that confessional talking about her parents. So it seems like she's a good person and she wouldn't do that to JD, but it would have been funny.
I also wonder, like, legally, who does it belong to? Because I know there's some, like, rules about, like, who does the advantage actually belong to? Like, as far as, like, if two people find it together, the person who actually, like, picks it up, like, is the one who, like, owns it, and the other person can't use it. So I wonder if this is the same thing where JD retains, like, ownership and Shan can't use it. So
it could be that, because it's not like JD said, oh, I'm giving this to you. He said, oh, I'm giving this to you to hold, to build trust, as in, hey, I trust you. I'm letting you hold this advantage, versus present for you, like happy holidays, like let me give you this to keeps. So it does seem like maybe Shan wouldn't be able to play it like at this tribal council, similar to like a Cerise Sarah Lucina thing. But if JD got voted out, then can she drop it on the ground and be like, oh, I found this, it's mine now? But maybe it becomes nullified because the owner got voted out.
Yeah, I do wonder. It would be, again, another thing I wish we had clarification on, but it's fine, I guess.
And I think JD letting Shan hold on to this extra vote advantage could also be another reason that Shan chooses to keep JD, because she says in a confessional, he gave me the advantage. JD is in my pocket. So it does seem like they're seeing JD as more moldable, versus Brad, who you can't really mold in that way to do what you say or give you advantages, even though like Brad is telling Shan all of this information kind of stuff. I just feel like JD would be easier to get to do what you want. Although JD and Brad are both very volatile players. I feel like both of them will do what they want, and they're low-key both wild card players. So it's sort of like a 50-50. Which one do you want to go with?
I think it's also, now that Shan has JD's advantage, she is going to know when he plays it, because he will have to ask for it back before he plays it. And maybe that little bit of extra notice is what she needs to like scramble together a plan. So
we go to tribal council. We hear that Ricard and Jeannie are sort of not liking each other since the first boot where Ricard got voted for by Jeannie. In Brad's exit interview with Rob, he gave some reasoning about why Jeannie voted Ricard that first episode. So I guess it would have been nice to hear more from Jeannie, similar to like Heather and Erica. Jeannie went to tribal council this time, and where is her head at? You know, like, why did she vote JD this episode? Is she close with Shan? Is she close? Like, we heard her one confessional this week saying Brad was her number one, but it's sort of like, are Jeannie and Ricard feuding publicly, or is it more of a silent battle between them, like silent dislike between them?
Yeah, it's also interesting because now Jeannie is the only person to have voted incorrectly who is still left in the game. Because she voted incorrectly the first time Green went to tribal, and she voted incorrectly this time. So
I saw that on Reddit.
No, I was actually looking through the voting records because I was like still kind of confused why Jeannie voted for Ricard. But I was looking through the voting records and I was like, huh, did someone post that on Reddit?
Yeah, so maybe that's your account and you just doxed yourself. But
no, I'm not cool enough to have a Reddit account. But anyways, yeah, so I don't think that's very good for Jeannie going forward, just because like having an accurate read on who's going home is important.
So JD got the personal question. I thought he was going to get that Voce edit last week of JD getting voted out because Jeff was asking him why he's playing. We hear JD talk about the bullying again and talk about his Survivor idol. So I was like, oh, you know, they can't do that 2 weeks in a row where the person at tribal gets a personal question and then they get voted out right after. So I sort of felt like, oh, it has to be a red herring because you can't have that twice in a row.
Yeah, I guess like it was really kind of a weird tribal, I felt like, because JD got that moment despite it not really like making sense. And then Ricard and Jeannie had their whole feud. Someone in our chat is saying that the way that Ricard like talked about Jeannie was really weird. It's just like the whole thing was, again, vibes are off. So,
and it's weird because like they spent 2 minutes on JD sharing his story again, which a lot of it I felt like we heard episode 1 when JD got the at home segment when he was talking about growing up, bullying, his hair, having braces, glasses, and then it sort of just repeated here at tribal council a second time, which was odd because I felt like we definitely heard it before.
Yeah. Odd is a good way to describe it.
But it sort of feels like deja vu. Last week, they had to make a decision. Do we vote out the person with all the advantages in Xander, or do we vote out like a person close to Xander in Voce? This week, sort of similar. Green has to make the move. Do we vote out Brad because he has all of these advantages? I do wonder, why was the vote between Brad and JD and not JD and Jeannie or Brad and Jeannie? Because if it's similar to last week where Voce and Xander are on the chopping block, this week, if you're following a similar format, you would have Brad on the chopping block, or you vote out Jeannie to like destabilize Brad's power. But we never even heard Jeannie's name come up. So I do want to see more from Jeannie. Like, what is she thinking? And what are the other people's thoughts on Jeannie? Because we haven't even heard anyone else say, like, yeah, I like Jeannie more than Brad. That's why we saved her this week. Or Jeannie's cool. Like, I just like to hang out with her kind of thing. So it's sort of like, why was the vote between the people that we saw it was between, and why was Jeannie's name never brought into that? Which maybe it was. So I would have liked to hear it. Like, how is she not getting voted out here?
Yeah, I feel like Jeannie, we don't really hear a lot about her. Like her major moment this episode was when she like threw a fit when they lost. So
Oh my gosh, she kicked like the water bottle, the sit out bench.
yeah, so
It's interesting. And maybe Shan is closer to Jeannie than we're seeing, even closer to Jeannie than she is with Brad, that she's willing to vote Brad out. And like, it's just, yeah, I don't know. Why was Jeannie not an option? Because from what we've seen in the episode, Shan is number ones with JD, Ricard, Brad. She is close with everyone. We haven't seen her close with Jeannie. So you could have voted Jeannie out and kept Brad around. But maybe Brad's advantages were too strong that she wanted to get rid of all those advantages to get that out and to keep Jeannie around as the easy vote out next week because Jeannie probably doesn't have any advantages. But like we were talking about last week with keeping the person with the advantages in, if the idol gets activated, Brad is safe, then you have to vote between JD, Ricard, and Shan. That's a little bit dangerous versus now with no idol at play at all, then it's an easy vote out next week. You vote out Jeannie if you're staying the three strong of Ricard, Shan, and JD.
yeah, and I guess maybe an easy vote out next week is what they want or need. So hopefully they don't lose again. I would love to see Blue lose, if only to see more of that tribe. But
I agree. And it does make sort of sense to vote out Brad because if it's Brad and Jeannie on a side, and say you voted out JD this week, that would be JD, it would be Ricard, Shan, Jeannie, Brad. Maybe you vote out Ricard, but it does seem like Shan and Ricard are close. So that could be a 2-2, which is a little bit dangerous. Or if you get down to 3, of Shan, Brad, Jeannie. Shan is the third wheel of a Brad Jeannie duo, it seems, because Brad and Jeannie seem very close. Versus if Shan went down to 3 with JD, Ricard, Shan. Shan is sort of the swing vote there because we've seen JD and Ricard have some fights, like feuds, like they're not that close yet. So I think it's a good move to vote out Brad when he doesn't have a vote or any advantages, and maybe we'll see it come to bite the yellow team in the butt by not voting Xander out last week, where Evie, Liana, and Tiffany will have to vote one another out next week.
yeah, so I guess we'll have to see. Like I said, I'm pulling for Blue team to lose next week. I don't think it's going to happen, but I want to see some drama.
I think maybe, but you have the Sydney drama of Sydney crying and Erica having that confessional. So you have that to look forward to with some drama, but it'll be 20 minutes advantage. So
as always, we love to hear from you guys. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Rachel, what were you saying about hopefully?
Oh yes, hopefully the blue team can find their idol so we can get it activated.
Hopefully the blue team can find their idols. Let us know that in the comments down below too. What do you think of this 3-part idol advantage? What do you think is going to happen now that one of these 3 parts has gone poof? We love to hear from you guys, and we will see you next week with another episode about Survivor. Bye!